Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. When I looked at this verse and the upcoming commentaries, I did a little pause because of a phrase that used in Jiva Goswami's commentary called, the translation says an artifice. So I had to look it up. What's an artifice? A deceptive maneuver. So this verse and the next 3 verses are Brahma's deceptive maneuver. And if we weren't bewildered before, you're definitely going to be bewildered now. Because what Brahma was doing in the verses preceding this is describing the truths of Krishna in relation to his avatar expansions. Now this is the truths of Krishna in relation to Maya. And we know what that is, right? It's not different. It's simultaneously one and different. Krishna is not controlled by Maya. Krishna controls Maya. So what is Maya? Well, Maya means an illusion. An illusion is something that appears to be, but it is not what it appears to be. It is something, but it's not what it appears to be. So the discussion is about Maya, or Krishna's illusory potency, specific to Brahma's service, which is building a universe, or the universe. So is the universe real or not real? Maybe some of you recall, I'm sure Vangsidhar and Shatarupa recall because we discussed it before. In those prior sets of verses, Brahma alludes to whatever people say, whether the universe is real or unreal, whatever is real or unreal is within you, but you're not touched by it. And then, so the commentators said, the Mimamsakas say this, the atheistic Sankhya's say that. About is the universe real? Mimamsa, the karma Mimamsa folks. All there is karma, so you don't need to worship anybody because karma is supreme, so just do good karma. Karma Mimamsaka. The universe is real. Atheistic Sankhya's, it's not real. So whatever one thinks it is, whatever the philosophy is of what it is, that's all within you. The Mimamsakas can't come up, and the atheistic Sankhites can't come up with something except that it comes from Krishna. So whatever it is that they come up with, and whatever it is that exists or doesn't exist, is within you, as I am also within you. So now this is taking that idea and in 3 verses going more profoundly into that idea. That's this artifice or deceptive maneuver or a ruse. What's the relationship between, it's Sambandh again. What's the relationship between Krishna's external potency and Krishna? Is it real or is it not real? Well, in one sense, it certainly is real, it exists, but it's not what it appears to be. So in this verse, I'll read the verse, text 16. But he's going to be speaking about something that happened back in chapter 8. This is chapter 14. So Krishna is a little older now. He's 5 years old. And back in chapter 8, he was less than 5 years old. He was 3 years old, just beginning his pastimes. And he showed Mother Jasoda the universe within him. So what was that universe that was within him? Was it the real universe? Or was it not the real universe? Was it an illusory universe? And was the relation between that universe that was in Krishna, that he showed to Mother Jasoda, and the universe that was outside? Is the universe outside real or not real? What's reality? He's not spun out. He's using a trick, a ruse, or an artifice, a deceptive maneuver to allude to something that Krishna already did, and apparently it was well known because Brahma just came on the scene and he knew about it, that he showed Mother Jasoda the universe within his mouth. And some parts of this say he showed universes. And in the universes that he saw, maybe we should go back and read what she saw. That's probably a good idea. Canto 10. Canto 10, Chapter 8. Let's see if this shows what she saw. Mhm. It's a long chapter. Okay, here we go. So your brother and your friend said you ate dirt. No, I didn't eat dirt. Mother Jasoda challenged Krishna. If you have not eaten dirt, then open your mouth wide. Krishna's opulence was automatically displayed, for Krishna's opulence is never lost at any stage, but is manifest at its proper time. When Krishna opened his mouth wide, by the order of Mother Yashoda, she saw within his mouth all moving and non-moving entities, outer space, and all directions, along with mountains, islands, oceans, surfaces of the earth, the blowing wind, fire, moon, and the stars. She saw the planetary systems, water, light, air, sky, and creation by transformation of ahankar. Now, how do you see air and sky? And she saw the senses, the mind, and sense perception, and the three qualities, goodness, passion, ignorance. She saw the time allotted for the living entities. She saw natural instinct and the reactions of karma. She saw desires and different varieties of bodies moving and non-moving. Seeing all these aspects of the cosmic manifestation, along with herself and Vrindavan Dham, she became doubtful and fearful of her son's nature. So then she started this internal debate, one after another after another. What was this? And then rejects it and goes on to the next option. She's riding waves of Sanchari Bhav, according to Jiva Goswami's commentary. But that's what she saw. And Brahma is making reference to what she saw. My dear Lord, in this incarnation, you have proved that you are the supreme controller of Maya. Although you are now within this universe, the whole universal creation is within your transcendental body, a fact you demonstrated by exhibiting the universe within your abdomen before your mother, Yashoda. So before he was speaking, I am within you because you're Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Now it's Krishna in his position as the son of Yashoda, and you saw the universe is within you. It's not totally disconnected. It's not totally connected. It's the topic is the relationship between Krishna and Maya. Okay. Don't take off her mask. Okay. I'm going to read again Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. It's a little easier to understand than the next two. We read it this morning. Here it is again. To say that Narayana, who lies on the water of the universe, holds the universe within his abdomen, seems like a contradiction. A pot within a house cannot hold the house within it. One may reason that the spiritual body of Narayan holds an illusory universe within it and is situated within another real universe. But if that is so, then Brahma himself cannot be really situated in the Lord's abdomen because what was an illusory universe. In order to establish the oneness of the universe within the Lord and that outside the Lord, Brahma first established that the Mayaka nature of the universe within the Lord. That which was shown to Mother Jasoda, and that which was within the body of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Quote, O subduer of Maya, in order to show that the external universe also exists within your abdomen, you produced an illusion for Mother Yashoda by the influence of your Yoga Maya potency. Your body was simultaneously within the universe and spread throughout the universe. Which is definitely a contradiction. Similarly, though I am within your abdomen, I arose from your abdomen and am situated here. Thus you are still my mother. And that was the easier one of the three to understand. Here comes Jiva Goswami. He writes, your expansion was not in the water and was not the embodiment of the universe. You are the example of this. In 3 verses, Brahma explained that Krishna is the supreme form using artifice, a deceptive maneuver. quote, "O Lord, destroyer of Maya, you cannot tolerate relationship with matter. You removed Maya from Agha and others. That is proper, since you are the supreme, as Swayam Bhagavan." That's easy. Then, commenting on the verse, this is from the Uddhava Gita section 11, 15, 16. He gives the Sanskrit, Jiva Goswami, Narayane Turiyakye Bhagavat Shabda Shobdite. Shabdite. So what that verse says in the BBT translation, the yogi who places his mind in my form of Narayana, known as the fourth factor, the attention is going to go to what is that fourth factor thing. Full of all opulences, becomes endowed with my nature, and thus obtains the mystic perfection called Vashita. Vashita means to be able to bring others under control. So that Krishna is speaking of yogis that fix their mind on the form of Narayana, who is known as Turiya, the fourth factor. The word for word in the BBT, Turiya, Akye, is known as the fourth beyond the three modes of nature. Jiva Goswami says Turiya, according to Sridhar Swami, the fourth factor is something else. The Supreme Lord who is devoid of upadis, such as these three upadis, Virat, Hiranyagarbha, and Karana. So this is the three Purushas. Hiranyagarbha, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, Karana, Mahavishnu. It just leaves one. Leaves Shirodakshay Vishnu, the Virat. Now that's a whole other topic. The Virat, it's a big topic. Because sometimes the Virat is assigned to and connected with Garbhadakshay Vishnu. Because from Garbhadakshay Vishnu then comes Brahma, and then the image of the universe, which he then builds according to the blueprint, the subtle image of the universe, the Virat. So whether it's Garbhadakshay Vishnu, Shirodakshay Vishnu, those are the three Purushas. And the three Purushas we heard earlier, you remember the first evening we were here, they're functions or upadis that are not really the essence. The essence of Vishnu is to build the universe through agencies, through the modes of nature, and maintain it and then remove it. It's Vishnu that does those through agencies. So there's this part, that part, this function, that function. So those are upadis, not in the normal way that we think of, upadis, like tall and short and male and female and American and India and black and white and Republican and Democrat and other kinds of upadis. So this is the same term, but when applied to Lord Vishnu, those are functions and thus upadis. And then the Supreme Lord is Turiya. He's in a dimension that's beyond those upadis. That's the reference that he's making. Commenting on this verse, Sridhar Swami says, Turiya, the Supreme Lord, means devoid of upadis, of Virat, Hiranyagarbha, and Karana. So Virat, Hiranyagarbha, and Karana have some dealing with the universe, or Maya. So what's the relationship between that which they really are not in contact with, but they have some jurisdiction over? So is it, what's the relationship? Is it real or is it false? Going back to something from a previous verse in this set of prayers. Because there are different ideas out there, and the author of the Bhagavatam, or the compiler of the Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva, is well aware that there's different ideas out there, and he's contending with them in different ways, and this is one of those ways, through the speech of Brahma. Like, what is the relationship between the universe, and is it real or not real? Quote, this is the commentary continuing, you revealed your Maya by showing the externally manifested universe to your mother within your abdomen. That's his Yogamaya. That Maya was composed of water and other elements, previously described, chapter 8. Water is mentioned, and other elements are mentioned. So was that water real or not real? Was what she was shown, real or not real? And then what about the universe outside? Is that real or not real? Or you showed the universe which was externally clear inside your abdomen, but then became unclear. So this is now referring back to the chapter 8, Mother Jasoda, pondering what she just saw. Has this been manifested by bewilderment of my intelligence by the Devatas? Or is it some natural power of my child? It was unclear, since the vision given to her was both limited and unlimited. I mean, limited because it's within his body, but unlimited is because where's the beginning and end of it at the same time? And this is one of the topics to understand Krishna Tattva that's difficult but essential, and that is he has Achintya Shakti. And with his Achintya Shakti, Bhagavan, Krishna, can simultaneously do many things that are contradictory. Say the same thing a different way. Within Krishna, there exists contradictory Shaktis. And sometimes this one is manifest, like Mother Jasoda can't bind him. And sometimes that one is manifest, Mother Jasoda can bind him. Unlimited, limited. And sometimes they're both manifested simultaneously. That's what she saw. Krishna's in her lap, and she's looking in his mouth, and he shows her that which is the universe around her simultaneously within him. It's a display of simultaneous, unlimited and limited, which is quite bewildering. Therefore, that it was illusion created by Devatas was rejected. Shukadev says, going to the next chapter, chapter 9, the Damodar Lila, thinking of the invisible Lord, this is when the whole thing went to its conclusion. She was trying to bind him, trying to bind him, trying to bind him. It wasn't happening. What's going on? Trying to bind him. So much rope won't go around. And it's always 2 inches too short, or 2 fingers too short. Thinking of the invisible Lord. This is a verse, there's tons of commentary, because it's Sambandh again, the relationship between Krishna and his energies. Thinking of the invisible Lord, who has no inside or outside, who has nothing previous or after him, who existed in the past and will exist in the future, inside and outside the universe, who is the universe, as her son, thinking of the invisible Lord as her son, appearing with a human form, although he was beyond material senses, she tied him up to the mortar like a normal child with rope. Using logic in this way, now that was chapter 9, to illustrate the illusion that what she saw was an illusion created by the devatas that was rejected. Using logic in this way to decide it was not possible for the universe to be under his shelter. So one was there was a trick of a mystic power of the devatas. I'm too insignificant. Why would the devatas bother to do this with me? So, and then this achintya shakti, simultaneously limited and unlimited, then she reached, because of her affection for Krishna as her son, she also rejected that the universe was under his shelter. Her Vatsalya rasa was so powerful, she rejected that one. And finally, Sanatana Goswami. Doubt. That's a good place to start, right? Just as the water is real, the whole world is real. If that is so, does it not contradict authorized scriptures and perception? Answer: this is true. The world is illusory. That is explained in 2 verses. Now, illusory doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means it needs another kind of illusory. When you appear in the world as the subduer of Maya, Maya Dhamana, everything related to you is also beyond Maya. The worshippers of your avatars are also beyond Maya. Though you appear as an avatar subduing Maya, certainly you manifest Maya. You are supreme controller of Maya. You manifested Maya, Prakriti, Kritam. Being highly unsatisfied with his statement, he gives this proof, the above, and then restating it. You manifested even Kritsnasya cha, the whole universe inside yourself. That's the Jasoda Lila. And so this, yeah. The meaning is this, in case you wanted to know. Although Yashoda experienced the world inside Krishna as real, on not seeing it, it seemed false like a dream or a magician's trick. Thus, though the external world existed, she thought it also might be false. This Maya was conveyed by her Jananya to Nanda and others, because she told Nanda what happened. The same occurred when Krishna yawned while drinking milk. That's from an earlier section, early childhood. There's the universe. She didn't make too much of it. But she made a lot of it when it came to this chapter 8 pastime. Or final section. Because Brahma was omniscient, and because the Lord gave him mercy at that time, he had both perceptions of Krishna, inside and outside. That is, he could understand the oneness and difference, the inconceivable potencies of the Lord, thus simultaneous, it can be this and that. I've heard Badrinarayan Swami say many times, maybe at least 10, 15 times, sitting in front of Prabhupada at a lecture, Prabhupada said, one of the signs of intelligence is to be able to hold two opposite things within the mind at the same time. So the function of the mind is the 1 or 0 function, binary processor function. And intelligence is more subtle, and one of the aspects of intelligence is not the only, but is within the intelligence to be able to hold two contradictory situations within the mind at the same time. The universe is within Krishna, the universe is outside of Krishna at the same time. So because Brahma was very intelligent, omniscient, and because the Lord gave him mercy at that time, he had both perceptions of Krishna, inside and outside. No, Krishna is outside the universe and he's in the universe. The universe is outside all of us and the universe is inside Krishna. You have manifested this Maya by showing yourself inside and outside to your mother, Jananya. So there's all this talk about what Mother Jasoda saw in chapter 8, in part because it's really important, but in part it's Brahma explaining the relationship of Krishna with Maya, or the relationship of Krishna with the created portion, the 1/4 portion, the cosmic manifestation portion. Because the cosmic manifestation portion doesn't touch. The modes of nature don't touch. The elements don't touch. The gross, the virat, the universal manifestation doesn't touch the spiritual world. However, what Brahma saw twice now, what Brahma saw when he, in Canto 2, Chapter 9, he came before Lord Vishnu, and he saw all those things personified. And he saw them again in Chapter 12 of this Canto 10. He saw all those potencies. And those aren't Mayic potencies. Those are Krishna's internal potencies, or diverse potencies. And there's a really long section in chapter 87, which is a real mind bender. The prayers by the personified Vedas, and those potencies. So, a really simple understanding that we all have is this is a reflection of that. This world is the reflection of the spiritual world, as above, so below. So if there's stuff here, there has to be the spiritual, non-contaminated stuff there. And they're personified. Now, what does personified wind look like, or personified elements look like? But they're there. We'll have to wait to find out what they look like. But they're personified in multiple places. So then what about that the reflection here, or the abhas of the spiritual world, the created realm? What is it? What is the universal form? And that's kind of like a third thing even. Is this the universal form? Or is the universal form a form of Krishna? What is it? Wait till Parama Karuna gets finished with the marathon. He's going to take us for a ride. He's just like, can't wait till the marathon's over to get into it. And it's not an easy subject. But it's an important subject, as it keeps showing up again and again. It's an important subject. The way that Sadhuputta says that I really like, the way that we view the universe has a profound effect on the way that we view ourselves. That's how he starts his Vedic cosmology, mysteries of the sacred universe, narration. The way that we view the universe has a profound effect on how we view ourselves. And if we can't, so say it differently, if we don't understand the world around us, how are we going to understand the transcendental world? How are we going to understand the form of Krishna? So he's giving us a picture of how he views the world around us and Krishna's relationship with it. And it's a little intricate. It's not easy to understand. It's kind of easy just to stop at, well, there's simultaneously one a different period. Next. So how does that play out? So, so now it's Krishna's pastimes, and he's showing what he's showing. He's showing to Mother Jasoda, he's showing, and Brahma is appreciating what does it mean, what he just did. There is a relationship between what he showed, that's Maya under his control, and at his will he can show. And at his will he can withdraw what he shows. He did the same thing in chapter 12, 2 chapters ago. He showed and then he withdrew it. To Mother Jasoda, he showed and then he withdrew it. Now, how it affected Mother Jasoda was different than how it affects Brahma. And that came up in the discussions this morning. Sri Radhika was appreciating, our rasa, or our relationship with Krishna, has a lot to do with the prayers that we offer. He's offering prayers. And he is not the same as Mother Jasoda. And Shukadeva Goswami, who's narrating about both, is not the same as either one of them. They were all individual. So we appreciate the way that we appreciate because of our relationship with Krishna and our capacity and what Krishna discloses to us. And that's just wonderful. And each one of us is experiencing something a little bit different, which is just the way it is, which is fantastic. We don't have to club each other because we don't see the same thing in the same way as the other person. But he is giving us the Siddhanta, Bhagavad Siddhanta, about the relationship of Maya with Krishna. It's for sure. It's under his control. We'll say it the reverse. He's not controlled by it. He can manifest it, he can withdraw it, and when he manifests it, he's not under its control. He can manifest the universe as he did from Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and then he can enter into it. There's a place in Canto 2, and there's a place in Canto 11 where the metaphor of a spider is used. You familiar with that metaphor, Sri Rupa? Here's Jiva Goswami's take on that metaphor in the Sandarbhas. I think it's Bhagavad Sandarbha. Any metaphor, we know this from Prabhupada, any metaphor is as good as the number of similar points. The more dissimilar points, the weaker the metaphor. The more the similar points, the better, or stronger is the metaphor. But the weakness of this metaphor is that the spider has to eat something to make the web, to make the thing come out of the saliva to make the web, and then it ingests it again after some time. Removes the web. But Krishna doesn't have to eat anything. Or the potencies are self-manifesting. But the point of similarity is the spider makes the web and moves about the web. From within Krishna, from his own potencies, the universe is created. And there are philosophers that can say it's unreal, and philosophers that can say that it's real. And, as Vaishnavas say it a little different than both of them. It exists, but it's temporary. And it's the Shakti, it's Krishna's Shakti that's under his control. And he manifests it, stays for some time, undergoes some changes, and he withdraws it. And he is the capital S soul of the universe, as Sarvadakshay Vishnu and Shiradakshay Vishnu. And they don't leave when the soul leaves the body, the body disintegrates and goes back to the elements. But Krishna just pulls the plug in the form of time energy, because that's also him or his. And when the time energy is withdrawn, the energies go back, they dissolve. They go back to their elemental state. They go back to Pradhan state. They're activated, animated by his time energy and his other potencies. And then, the whole thing, the whole show moves. And it stays for some time, transforms, and then is withdrawn, including Brahma himself, the one that builds it. So the relationship is that it's his energy. This is our Vaishnava understanding. It's his energy, but its orientation or its configuration is temporary. The energy is eternal, the configuration is temporary. Always changing. And then comes to rest at some time. So I'll end with this, just say it once again. What Brahma is doing in these prayers, 2 or 3 verses, he's giving not a super detailed, but he's giving a picture of the relationship between Krishna and Maya. His illusory potency, his temporary potency, and now you see it, now you don't potency, the material one. And a smaller portion of this is a continuation and extension of his appeal for forgiveness. That is, you are my source, you are my mother. All of everything that exists here, where we are right here, in the universe, is your energy. We are within your energy, and this energy originates from you, so it's within you. So you're my mother, please forgive me. I misbehaved. I kicked. And so please just excuse me for that. It's a philosophical basis for his appealing for being excused. The relationship, based upon the relationship of the jiva and the source of the jivas and the source of prakriti. And the time energy is mixed in there as well. Bhagavad Gita, in the graduate level, the 5 topics expanded to in such a way I came across this very nice understanding at the conclusion of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary of the entire Bhagavatam. He gives this pronouncement. It's kind of obvious, but the only way to understand this literature, this text, this commentary, is through bhakti. And to get bhakti, one requires the mercy of the spiritual master. So I've gotten my understanding through the mercy of my spiritual master and through the medium of bhakti. My readers will also be able to understand it only through the medium of bhakti. So, if we hook ourselves up to a bhakti meter, we may not register at 10. And therefore, we may be using some other faculties, like, the Gyan capacity, the empiric speculation capacity, because that's how we're used to using that one a whole lot. And it doesn't work. It's not like what's being said, and even for that matter, why is it being said? Because we're missing the bhakti factor isn't as strong. I'm repeating something that I said earlier, but the benefit, even if we don't understand it fully, no problem. Continue to hear it anyways, because it has the potency to nourish bhakti. At least this much. Wow, Krishna is amazing. I don't understand him. Which is, the starting point for Brahma. I don't understand. Now he's detailing things that he said he didn't understand, but he's understanding a lot of things and edifying us about those things. And so we can go, wow. He's a very special personality. He's the supreme personality. Let me serve him. With whatever other motives we have about, let me out of here, this place is crazy, or something like that. Did you have a conversation with the people upstairs? Oh. Because it's so peaceful tonight. Huh? They're on that side of the house. Oh. They have two different residences? I told them to stay in their bedrooms, not in the living room. Just for tonight? Yeah. And they said, no problem. That's nice. They didn't growl or... Oh. Very nice. And it's warm, too. Okay. So let's see if there's some discussion on our evening's topic. No, it's okay. He's good.
So the first, this is a question I had, which is, with respect to the pastime of Krishna showing the universe inside himself, Mother Yashoda's mood changing based on seeing.
Wait a minute. Is the amplification on or not on? It's not on? Yes, it's definitely making some noise. So let's try again and see what happens. This one is working fine. That one doesn't seem to be working fine.
Krishna?
Just speak a bit and we'll see what happens.
With respect to the pastime of Krishna showing the universe inside himself, Mother Yashoda's mood changing.
Yes.
And Krishna restoring it with Yoga Maya.
Yes.
Could you clarify how that relates to free will, since in that pastime it seems like Krishna is influencing the dynamic of that relationship?
Oh yeah, he's definitely. So the free will question, we not threadbare, but we discussed it a whole lot in Naperville because somebody had they had a doubt about it. Largely, there's the free will has two main buckets or categories. One is I choose with my free will to direct my attention and my tendency for affection and love and so forth, eagerness for knowing things towards Krishna. And the other is away from Krishna. And then within those two buckets, there's ranges. And Mother Yashoda is way, way, way up there in the bhakti bucket or category. And Krishna knows that, Krishna feels that, and Krishna reciprocates with that. His reciprocation is specifically to nourish her love. So he does things, and this is one of those things, he's showing the universe, is to nourish her love. It causes her secondary rasas, astonishment and so forth, It's just to stimulate her love. He doesn't to disturb her love. He does it to stimulate her love, to nourish her love, and give her varieties of experience from the position of mother to the Supreme Lord. It's not against her free will. He's reciprocating with her free will according to the nature of her free will. He's reciprocating with Brahma according to the nature of Brahma's free will, volition to be in service to Krishna. He has a little, glitch in, testing his mystic powers against Krishna's mystic powers, which was, he says what it was. It's offensive. And so, but he has affection for Krishna, and he has a service-mindedness towards Krishna. So Krishna fulfilled his curiosity. But it's not the same, because Krishna also has his volition, and he has the cowherd boys over there waiting for him to come back and have lunch. And then, the time factor, the whole thing is so flexible, because 1 year passes from when he goes back. That's also to nourish. It's on the free will topic, to nourish the free will of the mothers of the cowherd boyfriends, and the cows that have their calves, that they want Krishna as their calf and Krishna as their son. So he's reciprocating, and it's all a grand orchestration. And and Brahma doesn't know exactly. Oh, Krishna's been very kind. He's engaged me in his pastime so he could show himself as the son of all the cowherd women. The question, the focus of the question, as far as I heard, is on free will. Is there free will happening here or not? It definitely is happening. And free will means there's this reciprocation. We're dependent. This was the doubt in Naperville. If we're dependent, then where's free will? We're dependent at all times. We're never independent. Mother Soda's not independent. And we're down here in, Chicagoland. We're not independent. So choose your dependence. Does that mean if I'm choosing that free will? There's free will within the dependence. This dependence, that dependence. There's what was reciprocated with Brahma and what's reciprocated in Mother Soda is quite different. And their experience is different. And it's touching their heart differently because of their relationship with Krishna, which is their free will. And we have that freedom also.
So then, when in cases where Krishna extends his yoga maya to restore that, or have that, in the case of Mother Yashoda, that loving feeling overpowering that temporary awe and reverence, that's Krishna reciprocating with that deeper desire, or that deeper tendency of her acting in that relationship as mother?
It's the relationship is two-way. It's not just Krishna again covered her with Yogamaya so she forgot. Krishna expanded his Yogamaya to show him what she saw. He's the controller of Maya. But it wasn't awe and veneration. She didn't go to awe and veneration. She went to astonishment. And then she went to like 6 other things. We discussed it in detail. 6 other things. Maybe this, maybe that. And it's just, Jiva Goswami's commentary describes this as this particular Sanchari Bhav. She left that one, it's just the waves rising and that subsiding and another wave rising and that subsiding and another. She's just riding on the waves of Bhakti Rasa and her Vatsalya Bhakti Rasa. And he just intensified everything. And then it became, more calm. And she went on with, telling Nanda, you know what happened? And I don't know if it was real or not real. And so that was nourishing his bhakti rasa. They didn't so much, they could have gotten into like, who is this boy anyways? And they would do that sometimes, but it would just nourish their parental affection, and then they would leave it. And in any case, he's hungry. And they'd get on with, it's the rasa was being nourished. It didn't at all change the rasa. It just nourished the rasa, and then they flowed on to the next and the next and the next.
Thank you for that clarification, Maharaj. The next question is from Sri Radhika Mataji. She has 2 questions. The first one is, you explained that it is not necessary that the Lord Brahma of Canto 2 and Canto 10 are the same personality.
Yeah, we talked about that this morning.
Which Lord Brahma is the original preceptor of our Sampradaya?
I don't know if that's identified. Next.
In Srimad Bhagavatam's 2nd canto, chapter 9, verse 4, Lord Brahma is praised for his Avyalika Vrata.
Avyalika.
Oh, Avyalika Vrata.
Yes.
Non-deceptive penance.
Yes.
I understand that this means that he has no other motive in his heart except to please Lord Krishna. Here, in the section of verses that you are currently discussing, Lord Brahma has an interest in his heart, to be forgiven, not from the reaction to his misdeed, but from forgetfulness of his relationship with Lord Krishna. Does such an interest still qualify as non-deceptive, since it is in alignment with a jiva's real self-interest, namely to be in relationship with his real father?
She compliments Sri Radhika. You're very consistent and maybe persistent with this type of question. And the answer is yes. It's not manipulative. It's not self-aggrandizement. It's not, I'll do this so I can get that. It's not like that. Very well done. I think that may satisfy you. Avyalika Vrata. That's part of it. Go ahead. Non-deceptive penance. That's it?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
That's it for the online. Okay. And in the room? Over here.
We all live in the same building.
Well, see, the real thing is, it's that smell of alcohol. Rubbing alcohol. It's to give everyone a high before they ask their question. Smell it. It's alcohol. Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify a point that you made, I think.
Okay.
Alcohol really make you high? It's about understanding. There's no way I'm going to be able to understand the contradictions. And you said that's okay. We have to keep hearing.
Yes.
So then, is it okay to just be like, oh yeah, okay, like not think about it too much, just hear it and be like, okay, yeah, that's.
Well,
what
this
it is.
question came up this morning. I forget who asked the question. It was at some point. I'm losing track of time. Is it important to have an inquisitive spirit? Yes. Brahma Jigyasa is human. Now, supposing your disposition, inclination, the gift that Krishna has endowed you with, doesn't include understanding these things the way someone else has the inclination to understand these things, or the empowerment, the gift to understand these things. Are you? Where does that place you? Are you less qualified, or you're just different? But let's take this nice example. You know, the classic one, the Brahman in Sri Rangam. And he says his understanding was the conclusion. Krishna is so loving towards Arjuna, he becomes his chariot driver. So the details of these things, should you be quite satisfied not having an inquisitive spirit to understand these things, because it's just not in my bandwidth to understand these things. I'm not a big intellectual person. I'm not a big analytical type of person. I'm just a from the heart type of person, and that's who I am. And these things are just not going to understand them. And I'll continue hearing them because I have faith that they're purifying me. Is that okay? That's your question. It's okay. At the same time, it's better than okay to have an inquisitive spirit. A little example of this that comes to mind. You've been to the Mayapur Yatras, right? Remember going to Champahati? Champahati? You don't remember it?
I remember the name.
There's a really tall Gaur Gadadhar deity that Bhaktisiddhanta found in a shed somewhere long ago, and because one of his devotees at that time was crestfallen, Lord Chaitanya was going to take sannyas, so he manifested these deities for him, and he worshipped them. So, it is called Champahati because there were champak trees, and there's a place where in the marketplace, Champahati, like Namahata, the marketplace for champak flowers. So that's how it got its name. There was a pujari, when Bhaktisiddhanta found these deities, he had like clairvoyance or a gift from Krishna to find where they were. Vaninath Vasu, I think, was the name. One of the Lord Chaitanya's associates, he manifested these deities for him, and over the generations they were lost. Bhaktisiddhanta found them. They're in a shed, or neglected, and had them restored. And so he gave this teenage boy Brahminical initiation and told him for his life to worship those deities. So when we went there, that particular Brahma, we still at Naistika Brahmachari, who was, in his 80s, disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta, still worshiping the deity his whole life, as he was told. And he didn't speak English, but he was a celebrity in the area amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And every day he would read the passage and meditate on the passage of Lord Nityananda breaking the danda of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into three and throwing it into the river, Manganadi River. So he had bhakti. You could feel it. Just he couldn't speak English and I couldn't speak Bengali. he had to, he's very, very deep in bhakti. So he didn't understand all these things. His meditation was the relationship between Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, and his love for him, and how he manifested this in some of this particular pastime. It's not like that's the only thing in their pastime, or the only thing in their relationship, but it was profound for him. So it was a daily meditation for, 50 years. He was deeply absorbed, and he would not likely have a capacity to speak on these topics with some deep realization, because he had another absorption. But his absorption led him to Gaur-Nitai. But the deities were, if I can't remember, Gaur-Gadadhar. In any case, can't remember. Gaur-Nitai or Gaur-Gadadhar. I'll check. But I can't imagine that same personality hearing these kinds of discussions, in his language, and falling asleep or tuning out or getting restless or something. It would nourish his bhakti in a different way. Truths about Krishna are revealed in the heart of one who has bhakti. And when it's the other way, when one's heart has bhakti, hearing these truths, then what resonates is some realization, at least the realization of, I want to be in service to Krishna. In the chapter that follows the Govardhan Leela, there's a whole chapter called Wonderful Krishna, and the elders are speculating. And the Brahmanas are, excuse me. This is after the Arjun trees are knocked over. And the elders don't believe the little boys. Oh, come on. Little children's talk. Krishna knocked over the trees, and these two figures came out, and they were decorated like this, and then they ascended into the sky, and Krishna did the whole thing. Yeah, right. But the Brahmanas were starting to consider, maybe it's true. Because it was said by Gargamuni that they're Brahmanas, and Gargamuni's a Brahmana, they have great faith in him. He'll have powers like Narayan, so maybe it's his powers, he did all this. But the others were thinking, it's there wasn't a big wind to knock over the trees, so it must be just the pious activities of Nanda Maharaj somehow rescued the child from not having the trees fall on him. It's like, that's as far as they can get. So different persons are going to process things, and you are one of the different persons who are going to process things in different ways. But, it's how wonderful is Krishna is the essence, and the details of how wonderful is Krishna is going to strike different persons' hearts in different ways. The Uttama position is beyond firm faith. The Uttama Adhikari position is they have scriptural references. So even if you don't understand everything, growing from the Madhyama to the Uttama position, there's deep faith in the scriptures and recollection of the scripture, scriptural reference. that says what the scripture says. So let's go back to this particular verse. It's dealing with Maya, or the universe. Is the universe real or not real? And one can look at it this way, and one can look at it that way. At least this much for you. This is Krishna's energy. And let me relate to it that way. Because if I don't relate to it that way, I relate to it some other way. It's mine. Or somebody may think it's theirs, but I want to make it mine. It's just, the conditioned tendency of fruitive activity is very strong. So recognizing that it is Krishna's, and the philosophical basis for it is Krishna's, is not just a sentiment, because sentiment can get blown by the wind. So I want to understand, a little bit like Sri Radhika's question, I want to understand so there's no impediment between me and Krishna. That much. And the details of it just maybe beyond my capacity. But I don't want any impediment between me and Krishna. This is Krishna's. Let me hear it more and more, so that's how I relate to the world around me, which is Sariputta's statement. The way we view the world has a profound effect on how we view ourselves. Okay.
I have like a two-part follow-up.
Go for it.
When Arjuna saw the universal form,
Is the button on?
I didn't finish. Yeah.
Green.
When Arjuna saw the universal form,
Yes.
He was afraid, right?
He was.
So is it okay to be scared? I mean, like, why was he scared? And is it okay to be scared when we know?
Well, there's different kinds of scared, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the scared because of forgetfulness of Krishna, that's not good. And the fear, or at least astonishment, but fear. He was trembling. The mightiness, the almightiness of the Supreme One, seeing it, that's a different than the temporary body is going to be at risk or something like that. The fear of death. There's different kinds of fear. But fear has its place. The residents of Vrindavan had fear. When there was so many problems, let's take Krishna to some other place because it's Gokul looks like unsafe for Krishna. They wanted to protect him. The interest was going to Krishna's well-being, not theirs. When Nanda Maharaj was being swallowed by the serpent, he called out for Krishna. Okay.
More than that kind of fear, I was thinking, like, when you hear more, it can be intimidating, or like
it can be what?
Intimidating, especially when when I can't understand it. Like sometimes if it just goes like this.
So that's okay. So that creates a feeling of fear.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not good enough to understand. That's the kind of fear.
Or I don't know what more. It's kind of like I can't even understand this, and I don't know what else is coming at that I'm not going to be able to understand.
Well, why does that create fear? Why doesn't it create humility? It's not a contest, win-lose. And I don't like to lose, so I'm afraid I'm going to lose because there's something I can't do. And yet there's things that you can do that others can't do, and things that others can do that you can't do. And you just appreciate, wow, they can do stuff like this. I mean, our acharyas, they're out of sight. And we're not acharyas. We're not afraid because they're out of sight. They're just showering not just, information or mind-bending stuff to like laugh at us as we can't understand because they're so high, we're so low. They're nourishing our bhakti. So where's the broadcasting of sound coming from, and what's the nature of the sound that's coming? And then it's shelter. It's not fear producing. There's not a win-lose thing, or I'm not good enough, or any of that stuff. It's just it's not painful. It's a shower of the Bhagavatam is meant. Step back. The Bhagavatam is meant to nourish love for Krishna. It's composed by Vyas for that purpose. That was the instruction of Narada. That's what it is. Its purpose, and it fulfills the purpose. And there are parts in it that are really complicated. I mean, the process of creation, the whole Sankhya philosophy, universal form. But the purpose is not intimidation or creating fear. The purpose is to nourish bhakti. And if there are parts of that I just can't grasp, that's okay. It's not designed to create fear. Oh, you're inferior. It's part of the whole tattva of Krishna. There's 10 topics, and not just one. So there's things in there that's very high, but spiritually meant to nourish our shelter in Krishna. So take it that way. Not if fear continues, then you better. I would recommend. Where's this fear? What am I afraid of? Where's it connected to inside there? You're not being judged. You're not being asked to pass an exam or something, or speak on the philosophy, and then people laugh at you because you don't understand it. There's no humiliation. There's no judgment of you. It's meant for nourishment, and it's I like other kinds of nourishment more than that one. Okay. Then comes the prior question. Is it important that I can just like smile and say, I don't understand it, but I know it's purifying? Is that good enough? Well, it's good to also just try to understand it. But you want to grow bhakti, and as bhakti grows from other things that do nourish that bhakti more than this, then that bhakti will allow you to understand things that today you can't understand. It's okay. Is that it? There's more? Okay. Online.
This question is from Govinda Mohini Mataji, who writes, devotees by nature are very kind. For little service, they give lots of appreciation, encouragement, and when I hear that, I can feel this pride entering like an unwanted guest.
Ah.
How to stay protected from such unwanted guests?
Lock the door. Or starve them. That's one way to get unwanted guests to leave, is you don't feed them. It's a very practical principle about pride. You just don't feed it. And another is, if there's some credit that's come to you, some recognition, appreciation, you pass it on. You just, that's protection. It's not meant for you, it's meant for those who have helped you in the bhakti process. Credit goes to them. If there's some mistake, I'll take responsibility. If there's some credit, it goes to them. Now, learning that culture or grace, the obstacle is false ego. That things get stuck with, oh, yes, they praised me. Or, wait a minute, I didn't get recognition. I'm feeling, neglected. So praise goes to Krishna.
Another question from Sri Radhika Mataji. She writes, I want to confirm my understanding of your response to Atulya Mataji's question this morning. You mentioned that the impact of even a demon's actions or antagonism could be to give pleasure or rasa to Lord Krishna.
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, the criterion for bhakti is not simply that Krishna is pleased. Because, for example, Krishna may be pleased by combat with demons, where his intention is not to please Krishna. Krishna may enjoy chivalrous rasa. So it's insufficient, it's inadequate to say bhakti means Krishna is pleased. Rather, what's adequate is, what's the intention? For demons, that's not their intention. Let me try to kill Krishna because it'll give him pleasure by defeating me. The intention of pleasing Krishna is the essence.
So, and I don't know if this changes anything, but there's more.
Okay, read the more.
So she writes, so the difference between a demoniac tendency versus a devotee is the intent behind the action.
Yes.
I'm struggling with how this seems to minimize the impact of the actions.
No. Why?
I know in ordinary mortal-to-mortal interactions, both intent and impact are important.
Yes.
I would think that this is the same in our relationship with Lord Krishna. However, having mixed intentions and not being very refined, it's very hard to refine our impact.
Well, the good news is, on the receiving end, Krishna is very kind. That we can rely on over and over and over. Krishna's kind. So he'll see the mix, and he'll accept the good, and he'll help purify the mix. And it can be however he wants it to be. It can be smooth, it can be gentle, it can be rough, he can turn us upside down and shake us by our ankles, and he can do whatever he wants. But it's not malicious, it's to help us come to the stage of no mix. That's his kindness. And one who trusts his kindness will get more of his kindness. And that means, the mix will reduce. So when we're mixed, we may not even be refined enough to see where the mix is, because we're mixed. But Krishna sees, and Krishna will help us. That's the good news.
This is a question from an anonymous attendee who writes, what is the difference between acting out of guilt and acting out of humility when asking forgiveness?
Well, going back to the one of the themes of Sri Radhika's questions, which is, do I want something when I'm making an apology? Guilt, feeling of guilt, can be, in perfect alignment with humility, and it might not be also. The guilt is, I'm going to get a reprimand. I know I'm going to get a reprimand, and that's why I'm feeling guilty. I deserve a reprimand or getting spanked or something. And I want to be relieved of the reprimand. So it can be in alignment or not. That's the short answer. What's the difference is, what's in it for me, consciousness. Okay.
Giri Varadari Prabhu writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, did Mother Yashoda have desire at any time to see the Virat Rupa?
No. Hare Krishna. Anything?
Not today.
Not today, okay. Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, 2 calendars.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have the TOVP one. Put it down. And I've got another calendar. Try to find another wall to put it on. Can I have some wipes? One wipe.